journal, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. All of us who are academics, or many of us who are academics, don't like discussing with journalists or with researching, although we really need to do a lot more. And Bill's going to talk to us about how we communicate with journalists. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess no microphone, just talk, man. Okay. Well, I'm Bill Torpy. I'm with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. I'm write the Metro column, which means I kind of roll by after the news happens and kind of do my take and try to explain and try to make it manageable, I guess, or funny. Anyway, if I was asked to come here and talk and see about, talk about how you should be dealing with the media. You want to get the word out. You guys are all, or many of you are into research or really focused on a subject, and you have all sorts of information you want to get out there. To sum it up, my advice would be call back and say something. It's that simple, really. It's we're often running on deadline and calling people up. Yesterday, I wanted to find an eminent domain guy. I had a 3 o'clock deadline. It hit me at about 1:10 that I had a question in my mind that was unanswered, and I started, Googling, and because I looked at my notes and I didn't, or my files, and I didn't really have a legal eminent domain person, but I tracked one down, and he called me back, and he said something, and that was all within, at 2 o'clock I was doing this in the middle of doing everything else. So just the first thing I should say is it's kind of a two-way street. Sometimes we're coming to you looking for information, and often we're on deadline. So it's often a crash course in what you have to say. On the other hand, if you're trying to get your message out to the media, whether it's me or my colleagues who either work in the business department, economics, healthcare, what have you, then it's up to you to get your message out. Somehow you either are trying to work through your business or your agency or the school that you are in, and you're trying to craft the message. So anyways, when you're doing this, if you somehow have got a contact with the media and they're asking you to talk to them, the one thing you want to do is know how long it's going to be. Is it going to be like me yesterday with a 6-minute conversation to understand something real quickly? Or is it going to be a 55-minute, a 2-hour conversation where you're going in depth and you're answering questions, you're explaining, you're really kind of digging down deep. So one thing to do is try to do that. Know how long you're going to be. Also, try to ask in advance how long the conversation will be, as I was saying, and ask maybe if it's going to be like that day or the next day. So ask them to send you a couple, 3 questions about what you're going to be talking about, so that when you are talking, when you're talking with a reporter, you're not being hit by right at the first time, like, oh my God, what should I say here? So if you ask them to send maybe 3 or 4 questions in advance, and say he wants to talk to you 2 hours, you have a couple hours, or you have a little bit of time to collect your thoughts, and then you kind of know what you want to say. And that's one of the keys, is you are I'm an interpreter, right? So I talk to various people, and then I try to write a cogent, crafted story that you're able to, that the reader is able to understand it. So if you explain things well, then I'm going to be able to explain them even better. I have to interpret what you're saying. So if you're speaking clearly and straight to the point about things, not circuitous, it works a lot better, and your thoughts will be reflected better in the story. don't over describe. Because I know you're all smart people, and the subject you're in, you're gonna be usually smarter than the reporter that you're talking to, right? So, the best thing is to try to avoid jargon. I mean, jargon's good, right? If you explain it, but you're also trying to, I will say it's always best to talk in just straight declarative sentences or statements. And just try not to get too deep down in the weeds. A lot of times, a conversation, you have 45 minutes and all of a sudden you go off on a tangent and you're not able to say everything you want to say. And that's another thing. So if you are, as I said, maybe ask 2 or 3 questions, they send you 2 or 3 questions in advance, you'll have an idea what the subject is. And so you will have 2 or 3 or 4 points that you want to get across. So I mean, the reporter will want to be finding out information from you. So he or she will be asking questions. But at the same time, you are, I mean, you're not a potted plant in this, right? So you're part of this exchange of ideas. And so it's key for you to know what you want to say and get those points across. And if somehow those points don't, you have A, B, and C, and D, and the reporter and you talked about B and C, at the end of the conversation, say, hey, there's a couple more things I think would be good for you to know. And that is and such and such. And then the person may be, wow, that's really, so that way you're kind of in control of the conversation, which is, key to getting the point across. I think what was this called? Translating research to policy? Is that which is exactly kind of what I was just talking about. I don't know who's translating. I'm translating or you translating. You're translating your research to me. I'm trying to understand it. So that's what I'm saying, is try to speak, know what you're saying ahead of time. I mean, there's no simpler way to say that. So I think that way you get your points across. And if there's something, go back and say it. Hey, there's the unasked question, go right down and do that. One thing is to know who you're speaking to with the publication. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution, the Time Magazine, whatever. It's general interest. The Atlanta Business Chronicle. That's obviously the name tells you who it is. There's a daily report. It used to be a full daily report. It's lawyers. So you know what the audience that you're speaking to is. Guns and ammo. Okay, that's. I don't know if any of you will be speaking to that, but anyways, just know who the readers will be, and that way you're kind of plugged into what you want to do. If you don't know, or one thing that works, I think a lot of times, is to say at the beginning of the conversation, let's talk off the record for a minute. I mean, if you're a little bit nervous, or so we got 20 minutes or 30 minutes or what have you. Let's talk for a couple of minutes off the record. Here's, this is what I do. I like to talk about this and that. Don't talk to me about this if you don't mind, or if there's something you want off the record, or don't go into, or say that this is kind of what I think is crucial, and this may not be as crucial. Anyway, you can set that up at the beginning, and you'll kind of cut through a lot of back and forth. A lot of times, I talk with people in the middle of a conversation. They'll just like, oh, I don't want you to say this, or they'll say something and then say, oh, don't print that, or whatever. It's so I think if you have ground rules while you're going in, that works a lot better. Or what you can't say, just tell, we haven't finished this yet. We're going to release it next month. And but if you kind of perk their interest, they may be calling you again next month for the report. Research by I mean, what we're looking for is news, right? The term is new, you know, and then there's an S on the end of it. And so that is what, you know, and any news is about, is something that telling you something you don't know, or you should know, or something. I always feel it's, you've done your job if you write something or have a you know, podcast or whatever. This somehow makes people feel a little smarter, and that is something that you're obviously part of trying to do. Is you're getting your part out. One of the I was talking to one of our CDC reporters yesterday, just kind of asking her about this. And they, in fact, I talked to a couple of reporters, one health reporter and one who does CDC. And they just obviously came through COVID, and that was just a crash course on all sorts of different research and learning and things that were going back and forth. And the CDC reporter was saying that during this was that the MMR reports, it's the mortality and morbidity reports that they put out every week, or they used to, I don't know how often it is now. They were just so densely written, so just thick, and it was just hard for them to get to absorb the information. And that was kind of, you know, I know it was a lot going on at the time. But part of the problem was they weren't getting the information out as well as they should for people to understand. We generally, we want to talk to the expert, right? We don't want to talk to communications person. We love communications people. A lot of them used to be us. But we, you know, if you call the university and you get a communications person, I want to talk to the economist. I don't want to talk to a communication person trying to ask the economist questions and then get it back to me. So if we can talk to you, you just, that makes it a lot more. It's one less person translating the operation. And one thing to do on the other hand, so I've been talking a lot from my point of view, and that is, from my point of view, is coming out and trying to get information from people. Like when we're trying to get the mayor's office, for instance. Hi, Courtney.
How you doing?
As I was yesterday, and I was like trying to beat up poor Michael over there. But I've been talking about it from my point of view, and you know, coming to you looking for information. One thing is from your point of view. If you have a research project or whatever your institution, school, what have you is doing, it does well to build relationships with people in the media, or people know who you're pitching it to. So on your side of the coin is you're trying to get the word out for something that you and your team or institution have spent time getting out, and it's important and people should know it. So it's always good not to hide your light under a bushel basket. The thing is, there's a lot of people in the PR world, communications world now. There's, we used to have a lot more people at the paper than we do now. A lot of them are now communications people, PR, what have you. It's not really very hard to find one of those guys to help you craft the message and get it out to the people that can tell the story, that will expand your range. So, be active in getting your own message out. Okay. Anyways, I'm hearing the music, the orchestra. There's, and so no, I think that is a big part of it is to try to see who you might pitch something to if you are interested in doing that. You don't you don't just call up and say, hey, I'd like, this to talk to, if you're pitching it to the actual person, say, Helena Oliveira at our paper, who covers CDC and other health issues. She'd be a person for that. There's various people who cover, Michael Cannell, he's an economist, and he's a business reporter. There's just people that, so you kind of do research. I think you just use the Google and maybe try to find who might be the best person to. And I get a lot of people sending me stuff that, but I could do kind of anything, any subject. But a lot of stuff I pitch to other people in my paper, go, hey, this would be pretty interesting. It ain't, it's not a column, but I'll send it to the right people. And so it's best to try to find who you want to bring this morsel of information to. And anyway, in the meantime, I guess I'll take a couple questions if you want to, if anyone's got something they want to ask me about.
Yes. How do you feel about sort of cold email, just pitching you stuff? Kind of from two directions. One is, I have this new work. What do you, maybe this is something you'd be interested in, or two, like, maybe not necessarily critical, but I saw you wrote this piece and it's about a subject area where I'm an expert, and here's something that's could add to the conversation.
No, that's where, I get 50% of my emails are cold emails,
If they ever lead to anything, I guess.
Actually, there's some, actually, I got one this week that I may do, some kind of weird thing in North Georgia, but, and part of it is getting the attention. And a lot of the things is from PR people, and I could tell right away. I've been doing this 40 years, and I just have like a spidey sense to hit delete without even opening, just, and it's just, in the morning come in and there's like 250 names, whatever it is. And so it's just a matter, so if somehow it's personalized, I saw you wrote something about, the Beltline rail, and transportation, urban transportation. I saw, and somehow it looks like it has been written by a person. And obviously most of these are written by a person. Of course, with AI, it's even different now. But if, it's written by a person who just sent it to me or me and somebody else, I know that person sent it to 40 other reporters and they just somehow put Bill on top of it, so that's it. Somehow make it personalized and interesting, I read them that start out, hey, butt wipe, I'm like, okay, that gets my attention, Now, it doesn't necessarily mean I'll write a nice story about it, but somehow but anyway, someone else was.
Sure. I was just wondering if you have any advice for if somebody has a topic that they're interested in or they have some expertise on and they really want to get a message out there, but it kind of goes against the prevailing currents. Perhaps the prevailing currents at a certain, at one, not saying AJC in particular, but any publication, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for like how to try to still get a message out there?
Oh, I love that.
In an important way.
Right, I'd love to go, that's, and a lot of people do, it depends on how, how against the currents, if you're, but I think things that make you question what your, beliefs of that subject were are, bread and butter, or should be of what the news is. I think that as far as that goes, I love getting things that like, oh, wow, I didn't think that was, well, that surprised me. And good, quick. I think that part of it, but I think you can just, you just think about, how you want to, lay it out, and I think that it is, incumbent on you to somehow, say why this is important, why this is different, why I should be, taking time and inches of the paper or minutes of the newscast to do that. But yeah, no, I think I love the stuff.
Thank you, Bill.